King Arthur's Knights, Chapter 7, Part 2. Percival went to the stable and took a bony piebald horse, which seemed the strongest, and he pressed a pallet of straw into the semblance of a saddle, and with pieces of leather and wood he imitated the trappings he had seen on the horses of the knights. Then, after taking leave of his mother, he rode forth, sad at first for leaving her in sorrow and tears, but afterwards glad that now he was going into the world of becoming a knight. And for armor he had a rough jerkin, old and moth-eaten, and for arms he had a handful of sharp-pointed sticks of hard wood. He journeyed southward 2 days and 2 nights along the great straight road, which went through the deep dark forests, over desert places, and over the high mountains. And all that time he ate nothing but wild berries, for he had not thought to bring food with him. While he was yet but a little way from the court of King Arthur, a stranger knight, tall and big, in black armor, had ridden into the hall where sat Guinevere the queen, with a few of the younger knights and her women. The page of the chamber was serving the queen with wine in a golden goblet, richly wrought, which Lancelot had taken from a knight whom he had lately slain. The stranger knight had alighted before the chair of Guinevere, and all had seen that full of rage and pride was his look. And he caught sight of the goblet in the hand of Guinevere, and he snatched it from her, spilling the wine over her dress, and dashing it even into her face. "Now am I well lighted here," he said, "for this is the very goblet which thy robber knight Sir Lancelot reaved from my brother Sir Wilder. And if any of you knights here desire to wrest this goblet from me, or to avenge the insult I have done your queen, let him come to the meadow beside the ford, and I will slay him. Aye, if it be that traitor Sir Lancelot himself." All the young knights hung their heads as he mounted his horse and insolently rode out of the hall, for it seemed to them that no one would have done so daring an outrage unless, like Sir Garlon, whom Balin slew, he fought with evil magic, so that the strength and prowess of the mightiest knight would be put to naught. Then Percival entered the hall, and at sight of him upon his rough piebald horse, with its uncouth trappings and the old and mouldy jerkin upon the youth, the knights and others broke forth in excessive laughter, as much at the sight as to cover their discomfiture and fear of the knight who had just gone. But Percival took no note of their laughter, but rode up to the hall to where Sir Kay the seneschal stood, wrathful at the outrage on the queen, which he had not dared to avenge instantly. And Percival looked about and saw a knight more richly dressed than the others, and, turning to Kay, he said, "Tell me, tall man, is that King Arthur yonder?" "What wouldst thou with Arthur, knave?" asked Kay angrily. "My mother told me to seek King Arthur," responded Percival, "and he will give me the honor of knighthood." "By my faith, thou farmer's churl," said Kay, "thou art richly equipped indeed with horse and arms to have that honor." Thereupon the others shouted with laughter and commenced to throwing sticks at Percival, or the bones left by the dogs upon the floor. Then a dwarf pressed forward between the laughing crowds and saluted Percival, and the lad rejoiced to recognize him. It was Tod, who had been his friend among the trolls of the mountains, and with Tod was his wife. They had come to the court of Arthur, and had craved harborage there, and the king of his kindness had granted it them. But by reason of the prophecy which the trolls knew of concerning the great renown which Percival was to gain, they had been dumb of speech since they had last seen the young man. And now at the sight of him their tongues were loosed, and they ran and kissed his feet, and cried together, "The welcome of heaven be unto thee, goodly Percival, son of Earl Evroc. Chief of warriors art thou, and stainless flower of knighthood." "Truly," said Kay wrathfully, "thou art an ill-conditioned pair to remain a year mute at King Arthur's court, and now before the face of goodly knights to acclaim this churl with mouldy coat, chief of warriors and flower of knighthood." In his rage, he beat Tod the dwarf such a blow that the poor troll fell senseless to the ground, and the troll wife he kicked so that she was dashed among the dogs, who bit her. "Tall man," said Percival, and men marveled to see the high look on his face and the cold scorn in his eyes, "I will have vengeance on thee for the insult and ill treatment thou hast done these two poor dwarfs. But tell me now, which of these knights is Arthur?" "Away with thee!" shouted Kay, enraged. "If thou would see Arthur, go to the knight with the goblet who waits for thee at the ford, and take the goblet from him and slay him. Then, when thou comest back clad in his armor, we will speak further with thee." "I will do so, angry man," said Percival, and amid the shouts of laughter and the sneers of the crowd, he turned his horse's head and rode out of the hall. Going to the meadow beside the ford, he saw a knight riding up and down, proud of his strength and valor. "Tell me, fellow," said the knight, who bore on his shield the device of a black tower on a red field, "didst thou see any one coming after me from the court yonder?" "The tall man that is there," said Percival, "bade me to come to thee, and I am to overthrow thee and to take from thee the goblet. And as for thy horse and thy arms, I am to have them myself." "Silence, prating fool!" shouted the knight. "Go back to the court and tell Arthur to come himself, or to send a companion to fight me, or I will not wait, and great will be his shame." "By my faith," said Percival, "whether thou art willing or unwilling, it is I that will have thy horse and arms and the goblet." And he prepared to throw his javelin sticks. In a proud rage, the knight ran at him with uplifted lance, and struck him a violent blow with the shaft between the neck and the shoulders. "Ha, ha, lad," said Percival, and laughed. "That was as shrewd a blow as any the trolls gave me when they taught me their staff play. But now I will play with thee in my own way." Thereupon he threw one of the pointed sticks at the knight, with such force and with such sureness of aim, that it went in between the bars of the visor and pierced the eye, and entered into the brain of the knight. Whereupon he fell from his horse, lifeless. And it befell that, a little while after Percival had left the court, Sir Owen came in, and was told of the shameful wrong put upon the queen by the unknown knight, and how Sir Kay had sent a mad boy after the knight to slay him. "Now, by my troth," said Owen to Kay, "thou wert a fool to send that foolish lad after the strong knight. For either he will be overthrown, and the knight will think he is truly the champion sent on behalf of the queen, whom the knight so evilly treated, and so an external disgrace will light on Arthur and all of us, or he is slain. The disgrace will be the same, and the mad young man's life will be thrown away." Thereupon Sir Owen made all haste, and rode swiftly to the meadow, armed. But when he reached the place, he found a youth in a mouldy old jerkin pulling a knight in rich armor up and down the grass. "By your lady's name," cried Sir Owen, "what do you there, tall youth?" "This iron coat," said Percival, stopping as he spoke, "will never come off him." Owen alighted marveling, and went to the knight, and found that he was dead, and saw the manner of his death, and marveled the more. He unloosened the knight's armor and gave it to Percival. "Here, good soul," he said, "are horse and armor for thee. And well hast thou merited them, since thou unarmed hast slain so powerful a knight as this." He helped Percival put on his armor, and when he was fully dressed, Owen marveled to see how nobly he bore it. "Now come you with me," he said, "and we will go to King Arthur, and you shall have the honor of knighthood from the good king himself." "Nay, that I will not," said Percival, and mounted the dead knight's horse. "But take thou this goblet to the queen, and tell the king that whoever I be, I will be his man to slay all oppressors, to succor the weak and the wronged, and to aid him in whatever knightly enterprise he may desire my aid. But I will not enter his court until I have encountered the tall man there who sent me hither, to revenge upon him the wrong he did to my friends, Tod the dwarf, and his wife. And with this, Percival said farewell and rode off. Sir Owen went back to the court and told Arthur and the Queen all these things. Men marveled who the strange man could be, and many sought Tod and his wife to question them, but nowhere could they be found. Greater still was their marveling when, as the weeks passed, knights came and yielded themselves to King Arthur, saying that Percival had overcome them in knightly combat, and had given them their lives on condition that they went to King Arthur's court and yielded themselves up to him and his mercy. The king and all his court reproved Kay for his churlish manner, and for his having driven so splendid a youth from the court. And Percival rode ever forward. He came one day toward the gloaming to a lonely wood in the fenlands, where the wind shivered like the breath of ghosts among the leaves, and there was not a track or trace of man or beast, and no birds piped. And soon, as the wind shrilled and the rain began to beat down like thin gray spears, he saw a vast castle rise before him, and when he made his way toward the gate, he found the way so overgrown with weeds that hardly could he push his horse between them. And on the very threshold the grass grew thick and high, as if the door had not been opened for 100 winters. He battered on the door with the butt of his lance, and long he waited, while the cold rain drove and the wind snarled. After a while a voice came from above the gateway, and glancing up he saw a damsel looking through an opening in the battlement. "Choose thou, chieftain," said she, "whether I shall open unto thee without announcing thee, or whether I shall tell her that rules here that thou wishest to enter." "Say that I am here," said Percival, "and if she will not house me for the night, then I will go forward." Soon the maiden came back and opened the door for him and his horse, and she led them into the stable, where she fed it. And Percival she brought into the hall. When he came into the light and looked at the girl, he thought he had never seen another of so fair an aspect. She had on an old garment of satin upon her, which had once been rich, but was now frayed and tattered. And fairer was her skin than the bloom of the rose, and her hair and eyebrows were like the sloe for blackness, and on her cheeks was the redness of poppies. Her eyes were like deep pools in a dark wood. And he thought that though she was very beautiful, there was great arrogance in her look and cruelty in her lips. When Percival went toward the dais of the hall, he saw a tall and stately lady on the high seat, old of years and revered of aspect, though sorrowful. Several handmaids sat beside her, sad of face and tattered of dress. All welcomed him right kindly. Then they sat at meat and gave the young man the best cheer that they had. When it was time to go to rest, the lady said, "It were well for you, chieftain, that you sleep not in this castle." "Wherefore?" said Percival, "seeing that the storm beats wildly without, and room here for many?" "For this reason," said the lady, "that I would not that so handsome and kindly a youth as you seem should suffer the doom which must light upon this my castle at dawn." "Tell me," said Percival, "what is this castle, and what is the doom you speak of?" "This castle is named the Castle of Weeds," replied the lady, "and the lands about it are for many miles belong to my husband, the Earl Mador. And he was a bold and very valiant man, and he slew Maelond, the eldest son of Domna, the great witch of Glaive, and ever thereafter things were not well with him. For she and her 8 evil sisters laid a curse upon him, and that, in spite of this, that he slew Maelond in fair fight, for all that he was a false and powerful wizard. And Domna came to my husband when he was worn and with a strange sickness, and as he lay on his deathbed. And she said she should revenge herself upon his daughter and mine, this maiden here, when she shall be full twice 9 years of age. And she will be of that age ere dawn tomorrow morn, and at the hour will the fierce Doma and her fearful sisters come, and with tortures slay all that are herein, and take my dear daughter Angharad, and use her cruelly. The maiden who had opened to Percival was that daughter, and she laughed harshly as her mother spoke. "Fear not for me, mother," she cried. "They will deck me in rich robes, and I shall not pine fair raiments, as I have pined these 10 years with thee." The lady looked sadly upon her as she heard her words. "I fear not, daughter, that they will take thy life," she said, "but I dread this, that they will destroy thy soul." And Angharad laughed and said, "What matter so it be that I live richly while I live?" And we'll pause here and continue with this story in the next video. Please like, subscribe, leave a comment below. Thanks so much for watching. I love you guys. As Tigger says, ta-ta for now.